Just realized I don't know what I'm going to say.
Well, you start off saying, hi, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, it's just
That
like
is
a
what I
bada bing,
usually-
bada
It's just
boom.
like, hey, podcast
I'm on a train to Albany.
time.
They do
And
talk about
then-
going to Albany in this movie.
They do.
What movie would that be, Jeff? Maybe we should introduce the podcast.
We haven't started yet.
Yeah, we haven't started, Nina. Put your podcast voice away.
Yeah, don't talk into the mic. Welcome back to the Casual Obsession Horror Movie Podcast, the horror movie podcast where we talk about horror movies because we are, of course, hosting a horror movie podcast. We are horror movie podcast hosts, hosting a horror movie podcast
What is this?
on which we talk about horror movies. The horror movie in question on this particular episode is The Blackcoat's Daughter, written and directed by Oz Perkins. I am your host, Jeff, and avid listeners of the show will recognize a few of my co-hosts.
That was impressive.
Was that one breath?
I don't think so.
I didn't notice you breathing, but the experience felt like it had no break.
I would have
Felt like it took
dropped
about
a
10
beat
minutes
if you
to
had asked
say.
me. Hi, I'm Emma. It's me, your girl.
I'm Noah.
And I'm Nina.
Aha.
So Jeffrey, what's this movie? Because I certainly didn't watch it.
Jeff looked so offended when you said his full name.
I do hate that.
I always forget that's what Jeff is short for until someone says it.
Fun fact, Jeff's name, though he goes by Jeff, his name is spelled with a G.
Why would you say that?
Wait, is it actually?
No.
Why would
Oh
you
my
say
God,
that? Now,
Jeff.
why would you spread these lies about me?
I
Our
little
podcast that goes
Joffrey.
out to the internet. Now people are
I
going to
see
think
you
it's true.
completely differently now, Jeff.
You shouldn't. It's a lie.
Wow, incredible.
I would lose respect for you. No offense if any of our listeners have their names spelled that way, but Jeff, if your name was spelled that
full
way, I would
offense.
lose respect for you.
Full offense to any of our listeners who spell their names that way. It's just wrong. You shouldn't do that.
You know, I don't think most of them had a choice.
We all
My
have a
name
choice.
is Emma, but it's actually spelled with a G.
Gma.
No, it's a silent G, stupid.
Oh, like M.
It's in between the two M's, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Gma.
It's silent. You don't have to pronounce it.
In any case,
The tone's very light for the movie that we're discussing today, honestly.
yeah.
We gotta get some jokes in.
I don't know. It's a fun enough movie.
Yeah, it's real fun.
Yeah. So, The Blackcoat's Daughter, written and directed by Oz Perkins, whom you may recognize as an actor from such movies as Psycho 2, Legally Blonde, Star Trek 2009.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this is the first movie that he ever wrote and directed, actually, though it received its widespread release after his second movie, which is titled I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. This movie was, it premiered, whatever the right word is, at Toronto International Film Festival in 2015, but it didn't get full, widespread distribution or a regular theatrical release until it was acquired by A24 in early 2017. When it hit the film festival, it was under the title February. Mm-hmm. And then when A24 acquired the distribution rights, they asked him to change the name to something that would be a little bit more indicative of the subgenre so that viewers would know what they were getting into more. And they, according to Oz, they tossed him a couple of title ideas that he really, really didn't like. So then he pulled The Blackcoat's Daughter from the music that is in the beginning and the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that affects the way that you watch the movie a little bit, knowing that. But
I think if it had been called February, I would have maybe gone into it with a blanker slate and would have experienced the movie more purely rather than
Yeah.
expecting the whole title to come into it at any point.
Yeah, I think it definitely affects the read of the movie, but we can get more into that when we get into Spoiler Town.
Yeah.
Spoil it down.
I mean, I literally just sat here the past 30 seconds trying to think of why the fuck it would be called February. Only to realize that the movie did in fact take place in February.
Indeed
And
it
that's
did.
really the
24th, I believe.
only reason.
Yeah.
And so I don't love February as a title for this movie.
It's not perfect, certainly. And
not
that's,
perfect.
I mean, A24 agrees with you there, so.
Yeah.
So who's winning, really? So what?
Me.
Non-spoiler synopsis?
Yes.
Yeah, sounds about it.
This movie is about a couple of Catholic school students whose parents don't pick them up to take them home for a break. And they have to stick around at the school for a little while until their parents can be contacted to come and get them. And then some stuff happens.
That's when the goblins attack.
The Goblins Attack.
Emma,
Spoilers,
it's a spoiler
Emma.
free review.
Oh,
We
God,
can't
I'm
talk
so
about
sorry.
the Goblins yet.
I was just really excited to talk about the goblins being Blackcoat.
They all wear coats.
They all wear black coats, and that's
It was a
kind
twist
of,
I wasn't
And
expecting.
it's bring your daughter
They
to work
have-
day. And
they bring their daughters. It's really like cute but also creepy.
There's a typo in the title. It's supposed to be the Blackcoats' daughters, all
Yeah.
plural.
Yeah, it's actually that's kind of where the surprise comes in, is that it's actually plural.
Calling it February just makes no sense at all when you start to think about the goblins.
Yeah, once the goblins come in, you're like, why was this called February?
Although the
Like, this is
Blackcoat's
pretty
daughter
strange.
is a little on the nose at that point. You start to think,
Yeah. When like the head
Really?
goblin shows up and he's like, look at how black my coat is, and this is my daughter.
Yeah, it was crazy because like I wasn't expecting it to be the Blackcoat's mom like the whole time.
Yeah, Blackcoat's daughter's mom came in there, and I'm just like,
No. See, you know that joke where it's like, oh, the doctor was a woman, so that's why she could be operating on her own son.
Yeah,
You know that joke?
Mhm.
The black
it's
coat,
a riddle, but yes,
it was the mom the whole time.
the Blackcoat
Because
was
the black
the
coat
mom?
was the mom. Black
What?
coat's
the
daughter.
goblin married his own coat. Now that I forgot that part of the movie. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It felt like a
I
tacked
didn't
on
remember that
twist
at
to
all.
me.
yeah. So how was this received? Did people like it?
No,
Did Rotten
How
Tomatoes
are the
enjoy
ratings?
it?
It only
Rotten
made
Tomatoes did.
a little over $30,000 at the box office.
It's
Mhm.
not a lot.
It's not a ton. It's what I make in a year roundabouts, but not a ton of
Yeah,
money. No.
It got middling to poor reviews across the board. I don't think it deserves the 5.9 it has on IMDb.
Jeez.
I think that's criminal.
No.
I think Rotten Tomatoes giving it a 73 is very fair. I think
Okay.
Metacritic's 68 is a little low.
That's a bit low.
Letterboxd is giving it a 3.3, so that's like a 66.
Jeez.
That the tolerable zone for me, but
Sure.
there's something about that 5.9 that really sticks me. It's just
That's not
Yeah.
right at all. No.
I feel like IMDb always, like the rating is always a lot lower than I expect it to be for movies.
Mhm. And I gotta be honest, I'm gonna guess that this movie might be getting poor reviews because of its connection to A24.
You
A
think so?
lot of people hate A24.
Okay.
Is
Like, a
A24 problematic?
No, but a lot of people don't enjoy the fact that every single A24 movie follows almost the exact same progression.
Wait,
Which is strange
Wait.
because this is not actually an A24 movie. They just acquired
Yep.
the distribution rights
But-
afterward.
Well, they picked up a movie that fits their mold.
Does it fit their mold? I've never watched an A24 movie.
yeah, I was gonna say I thought Midsummer and Hereditary were A24
They are.
movies. I guess that makes sense. It does have the same vibes,
Mhm.
but
It's the same vibe of dark things happening slow. A24's like thing is Oscar bait slow burn, not just horror. Like all their movies are Oscar bait slow burns,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't like that.
See, I do
Um,
like the slow burn aspect. That's
Mhm.
one of my favorite things about this particular movie.
Some people who are big A24 fans end up getting up their own ass a lot about jump scares and act like movies that have jump scares in them are inherently less valuable than the slow burn A24 movies. There's
Well, that's
You know.
very context dependent, but all right.
yeah, that's the problem.
I
It's
don't like a
there are
movie
some
that
people.
relies on
Who-
jump scares, but
Mhm. Neither do I.
Having them in it, that's not a
But-
death sentence.
No, not at all.
I saw
yeah, a
one
lot of people hate on it.
A24 movie before we started this podcast in theaters.
Oh, it was
It
Hereditary,
comes at
wasn't it?
night. Did you guys
Oh,
see that one?
I have not watched
Don't-
that one.
I think I remember that one. You've seen another A24 out of theaters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I said before we started doing the podcast. But it comes at night. Wouldn't recommend.
Okay.
There's just like not really any payoff.
Oh, that sucks. Anyway, back to the subject. What are we on ratings now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We've talked about critics' ratings. They didn't like it, but
But you did, didn't you?
I really do. I think this is like a 9.5 for me.
Mm,
Okay.
I like almost everything about it. So
it's a high score.
All right.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, Oh, go ahead, Emma.
No, I want you to go, Noah.
Okay. I give this an 8 out of 10. I couldn't tell you right now what I don't like about it, but I know it's just not quite there to hit a 9.
Mm.
Okay.
So I'm sitting happy on an 8.
I liked it a lot. It's definitely a slow movie. It takes a while to kind of like pick up, but I like that in movies a lot of the time. I'm gonna give it a 9.5, like my friend Jeff here.
All right.
And it doesn't hurt that some of my favorite actresses are in it.
Yeah.
They all do so well.
Yeah,
They all do
there's
such a good job.
so there's Emma Roberts, whomst I love.
For obvious
there's-
reasons.
Kiernan Shipka,
Yeah.
who plays Sabrina in
In Sabrina.
the Netflix Sabrina show, but also plays Janora in Legend of Korra, which is where I like first knew her from.
Earlier.
Yeah,
Neat. And she absolutely kills it in this movie.
she does a great job in
She
this
does
movie.
so well.
Yeah.
She's very creepy. And then I didn't recognize the girl who played Rose, Lucy Boynton,
Yeah.
but she was an Apostle.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
what?
saw that
Mhm.
today. She was
Yeah.
Andrea in Apostle.
She was
Yeah,
the
she looks
Malcolm's
very
daughter or
different.
whatever.
The hair color is very different.
Yeah.
Would not have been able to make
It
that
makes a big
connection
difference,
whatsoever.
Yeah, it was a big surprise when I was like looking this up. But
Yeah, I had no idea. That's really neat.
Also,
though.
you got 3 or 4 years in between those two. So,
Yeah.
so there is that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good cast. Great cast.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, they
Um,
all do a really
small
good job.
cast, and they
I
all
really
do great.
liked it.
Yeah, small cast stuck in a
Mm.
small place, a lot of isolation.
We do have 2 very small cast movies in a row, and I actually really like that.
Yeah. Nina, what did
Um,
you think of this movie?
I really, really liked this movie. There are some things that I think I would have liked to have seen done better personally, and I can get into that later.
Sure.
But I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
So the general tone, we all like it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all like it a
Better
lot
than
more
a
than
60%.
IMDb did for whatever reason.
lot more. And looking at IMDb gave It Came in the Night, or It Comes at Night, a higher rating than this movie. And I thoroughly disagree.
Okay.
But it's whatever.
I tend to find that I just
Yeah.
don't agree very much with IMDb ratings.
I don't
well,
agree
it's-
with critics' ratings a lot.
Yeah, it kind of feels like critics don't know how to watch movies sometimes.
I mean, the IMDb ratings, those are all like user submitted.
Are they?
So like,
Jeez.
oh yeah. And that's the issue with IMDb is a lot of movies get the nostalgia bump if
Mhm.
they're older.
Yeah.
So older movies that aren't necessarily as good, but if people are on like a reviewing spree and they happen to find an older movie they haven't seen in a while, but like they remembered liking it a lot ages ago, they're going to give that, I'll give that an 8. I'll give that a 9, you know, something like that right off the bat. Whereas if like you get out of watching the next Blumhouse movie, then you're just like, wow, that wasn't that great. I'm going to give it an honest 6 because it deserves a 6. And that's why a lot of newer movies that aren't like big blockbuster like franchises tend to trend very low on IMDb.
Huh.
That's interesting.
That makes sense. I just never would have thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
Nina, did you give it an actual score?
Yeah, 8.
8. Okay. My brain's not working.
Yeah.
No, that's
All right,
super valid.
Super fair.
Scary rating and trigger warnings.
Well, trigger warnings goes first.
Oh, does it?
It's true.
Yeah.
Got to get the order right.
I feel like we changed the order.
We don't.
What are we,
We
some kind
don't
of
because
hooligans?
I protect the order.
Oh, okay.
We got to know how scary it is when we get into the spoiler review.
Yeah.
If we know
course.
how scary it is, then we talk about the trigger warnings. It loses the effect of how scary the movie is.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So trigger
The
warnings.
triggers.
So trigger warnings. Possession. This is a haunting and possession subgenre movie. So if that stuff bothers you, you know, Satan worship, that kind of thing, maybe you won't like this so much.
Satan worship. Wait. Did we watch the same movie? They worship
you watched the one
goblins
with
in
the
my
goblins,
movie.
didn't you?
The unnamed goblin that everyone seemed to be like really cool with, that was Satan.
That was Satan.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah, he'd enter a room and everybody's just like, my dude. And then it's not
Pops
really
open a cold
addressed
one.
in the movie. They don't talk about
Yeah.
why that is, but it's because he's Satan.
You have to
Got
watch the
it,
anime
got
for the
it.
extra context.
The anime.
Yeah, so possession, Satan worship.
A standard amount of blood and violence.
Yeah.
The violence itself kind of flinches away from showing you most of it, so that's not
Yeah.
a huge concern.
Yeah. Pregnancy scare.
Yep.
The most terrifying of all.
That's about it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So Emma, how scary is this movie?
Thank you for asking, my dear friend Jeffrey.
Oh.
You know, this is gonna be slightly spoilery for me to talk about my scary rating, because
Okay.
a lot of the scares happen later in the movie. This movie is pretty scary, but then you learn that it was about friendship all along. And
Correct.
You really do.
you do. And so, like, it's a very kind of like slow burn scary. It's not like jump at your face scary. It's more like a creepy tone. Like
Except
the
for when
entire
that
time.
goblin jumps right at your face.
Except-
that is
Like, because this was released as a 3D movie, so they like had to get like the 3D in your face shot, and they got that with a goblin jumping at you with a cracked open cold one.
for the boys.
And that for the boys, and that was scary. But other than that, like, I only jumped one time, and it was for the dumbest thing. It was like a camera switch and a character open a door, and I jumped for some reason.
Yo, I think I jumped at that too.
Oh,
Really?
he
When?
definitely did. He did. You did,
It
and
was
you were.
somewhere near the end of the movie, right?
Yeah, I don't
Was it
know
like
why.
leaving the bathroom?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I jumped at that too. I don't know.
I don't know. I
Well,
don't
right
know
before the
why.
actual scary stuff starts happening. So you're like pre-scared when things actually occur. Like,
Yeah, no, I remember when that was.
Yeah, because I was just like,
And
I
then
can't believe I just jumped at that. That was so dumb.
And then actual violence happens almost immediately after.
yeah.
I'm just
I'm-
like,
Alright, so spoilers, some bathroom doors get opened and it's apparently scary.
It's very scary. 10 out of 10.
So how does
Bathroom door
say,
is very scary.
I was gonna say, how does that affect your score? But now we know. 10 out of 10.
10 out
Yeah.
of 10.
So now, going into the spoilery zone, I feel like before we get to the spoilery synopsis, it's important to tell you all there aren't actually goblins in this movie.
Thank you for your honesty, Emma.
If you
Yeah,
paused the
that's just-
podcast to watch the movie and you're angry that it didn't actually have any goblins in it, sorry.
Yeah, just blame me. And haha, gotcha, suckers. Woo-hoo! Fucking
Freaking
pranked. But yeah, Jeff, how about that spoiler synopsis?
The spoiler synopsis. It's time for that. I really hope I can do well with this. I was planning
believe
to
in
rehearse
you.
this before we did this, but then I didn't. Ultimately, this is a movie about loneliness. This is about two girls at a school who feel as though they are just completely alone in the world, you know? And one of them is handling it a little bit worse than the other, maybe. But ultimately, the story of this movie is it's not told in chronological order, but I am going to relay the plot in chronological order here. There's a lot of time jumping around, and you don't really figure it out until partway through the movie. But so basically, what's going on is we got two girls at this school, Rose and Kat, and unbeknownst to anyone at the beginning of the movie, Kat's parents have recently died in a car wreck. So they don't come to pick her up for the beginning of the winter break. Rose, on the other hand, deliberately lied to her parents and told them the wrong day to come get her so that she could have some extra time with her secret boyfriend so that she could break up with him and go get an abortion for the pregnancy that she thinks she has. As the administration of the school is attempting to deal with this situation, Kat is in the midst of getting herself possessed by Satan as a means of coping with the loneliness of her life, more or less. And she kills everybody who's still in the school at the time. This is after all the students have left, of course, but she, so she kills Rose, gets arrested, put into a psychological institution for 9 years, and has an exorcism performed on her by a priest to remove Satan from her body, which she is very unhappy about. She asks him not to leave, and then he does because the priest made him leave. Because the priest is just a dick. So then 9 years later, she kills a nurse, gets out of the institution that she was locked in, and starts traveling back to the school so that she can get back to that boiler room where she used to worship Satan and attempt to commune with him once again. On the way, she meets Rose's parents, who are on their way to leave flowers on their daughter's grave. And when she realizes who they are, she murders the both of them, goes back to the school and thinks that she can finally be reunited with her Satan pal, and it doesn't work. And she walks out into the road and cries, and that is where the movie ends.
Yep.
That was a good summary.
It was not,
I would
but I appreciate you
I think
saying so.
Bullshit. That was a great summary.
It was.
But where did the bathroom come in?
You did leave out the
In the
bathroom.
place
You
where
left out-
bathrooms often come in real life, you know, when people are using them, taking dumps, showers, etc.
Yeah.
No
all
one
of
took a
which
dump in
happens
this
over
movie,
the course
Jeff.
of
Don't
this
lie.
movie. What's that?
People peed.
Oh, some
Yeah,
people
no
peed.
one took a dump.
Some people peed. There's
People took showers.
people took.
Mhm.
Yeah,
People
I
took
mentioned the
showers.
showers. One bath is taken at one point.
Yeah.
Oh, someone took a bath.
The
too.
holy trinity of bathroom experiences: peas, showers, and baths.
What
That
about?
is the unholy singular, and we don't like to talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk
okay.
about that one.
I was about to ask, but thanks for telling me, so I wouldn't.
Yeah. Don't ask. Don't ask. We have a firm don't ask, don't tell policy about that one.
Don't ask about and don't tell about.
Don't talk
Stop
about
saying
it.
that.
Sorry,
we
oh,
just
no.
asked you not to.
Oh
We'll
my
have to censor that.
god.
Jeff, jeez.
We'll have to cut that so people don't have to hear me saying that awful word.
The
I'm
only
so
thing I
sorry.
would add is that Yeah, if we could bleep that, that'd be great. The only thing that I would add is that we find out that Rose wasn't actually pregnant.
We do find out that Rose wasn't actually
Yes,
pregnant.
we do.
Yeah.
I neglected to mention that.
Directly before she gets stabbed, which I think is important to mention as well. It's literally the seconds before she gets stabbed.
And that's
Yeah.
also when she opened the door and scared me and Emma.
Yeah.
Yes.
The scariest part of the movie, the door opening right
Scariest part
before
of
the
the movie.
stabbing.
Now you guys know exactly where to expect it, so you will not be scared the way that we were.
You probably still will.
You
Unless
Every
you're
time
Jeff,
that there's
in
a
which
scene
case.
where somebody's in a
I
bathroom,
wasn't even
they're going to
scared.
be
Noah
watching
jumping
like,
scared
oh
me.
no, is this the one? Is this where they open the door?
There's several bathroom scenes in this movie.
There's
so-
a lot of bathroom scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
They only had 3 set locations: bathroom
Hallway.
and nun's house.
Yeah,
More or
you're not
less.
wrong.
There's a couple of bedrooms and stuff, but like,
Yeah,
In
Yeah,
the
that
nun's
is all.
house.
that's neither here nor there.
Nina, I know you have some thoughts.
Oh yeah, okay, so I have a couple little bitty things to get out of the way that I didn't like about this movie before we get into the things that I really did like.
okay. And I
Um,
think I have answers to these.
Okay. On a scale of Apostle, which I think used pregnancy as a subplot very well because it meshed incredibly well with everything else that was happening in that movie.
Doubly
2.
interesting knowing it was the same actress now.
Yes.
Yeah,
It, wa- it
actually.
was it,
Well,
it
no,
wasn't
a
the s-
different character,
but yeah, different characters. But and then to Age of Ultron, which is the worst possible use of pregnancy or anything to do with pregnancy as a
Wait.
subplot.
there was
Was
a
somebody
pregnancy
pregnant
subplot
in
in
Age of
No,
Ultron?
I saw it
no.
once on a plane, but I don't think that
Black
was in there.
Widow goes off on this whole speech about how she's a monster because she can't have kids.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the Joss Whedon problem. I got you.
The Joss
Yeah.
Whedon. So on a scale of Apostle, which I think out of the uses of that subplot I've seen is the best, and Age of Ultron, this movie is squarely in the middle where I can see how the pregnancy subplot plays into the reason that Rose wants to stay, the reason that she is still there, and the reason that she leaves when Kat is most vulnerable. I still don't love it. I usually don't and probably never will. And
Okay.
another reason that I don't is because this is another movie that this guy did, Oz Perkins did, was Gretel and Hansel.
Right.
And one thing that I heard a lot about that movie is that a young woman's puberty is a big affecting part of her character plot. And to me, the reason that this bugs me is more a totally personal, arbitrary vendetta I have against men who use women's reproductive cycle as a subplot of their story. And the fact that he's done this twice rubs me the wrong way.
That's fair.
Mm.
That's that.
Now,
That's all I got to say about that one.
I do want to watch that movie before passing judgment on it, but I will agree with you, that does not look great. I think I might be able to move this one a little bit further over to the good side of that spectrum, though.
Okay.
Do it right now.
Is that your big problem?
That's my biggest problem because I feel like it takes away from the time. It's not a very long movie, and I think there's a couple character motivations or plot clarifications that I wish would have been a little bit clearer or a little more fleshed out.
Oh,
But
okay.
that's about it. And it's all very minor stuff. I love this movie overall.
Right. Okay. I want you to get the chance to talk about all your problems before I start trying to convince you of how wrong your opinion is.
No, it really is just that overall I love this movie. I wish there had been more of the parts I did like and less of the parts I didn't like. That's the whole thing.
Of course. All right. So now, as a man, let me tell you why your stance on women's reproductive rights is wrong.
Thank you so much.
Because I know you're dying to hear my opinion.
I actually am because this is what I was telling Emma that I overheard you guys talking about, and I was like, I can't wait to hear Jeff mansplain this to me.
Okay, so I actually didn't want to talk to Noah about this yesterday when we were talking.
And you didn't really. You just brought it up.
So I didn't
You
go into it.
You
Okay,
didn't.
so I think Rose's pregnancy scare is actually really important to the characterization of how we see both Kat and Rose. just because as we look at them and they're like, their loneliness problems, because that is the centerpiece of the movie, is just the loneliness of these two girls who are, just stuck in this school away from anything that they care about. More or less, they're kind of shown to us as being extremely similar characters and in really similar situations, except for, like, it kind of seems like Rose has and actively chooses to reject everything that Kat lacks and desires. Kat may not know just yet, or maybe she does, because it seems that it was revealed to her in a dream at the beginning of the movie that her parents are dead in a car crash, apparently. It doesn't seem that she has a whole lot of friends. We see, while the other students are around, we see Rose talking to other girls, but we don't see Kat talking to other girls. We see her talking to a priest, which is kind of weird, kind of strange for a kid to have the kind of relationship with the priest that she seems to have. Not that I think anything inappropriate is happening there, but like, it's weird. It's just odd, right? So from that stuff, we get the impression that Kat doesn't have a whole lot of friends, if any, at the school. So she, doesn't have a ton of support around her. Whereas Rose has friends. She's got parents who seem to care about her an awful lot. She's got a secret boyfriend. And she is choosing to just reject all of this stuff. She's rejecting her parents' affection by lying to them. She's rejecting all of the school and all of her parents' like Catholicism by having sex out of wedlock and intending to go get an abortion. She's also even rejecting the boyfriend by dumping him. So I think the way that the pregnancy scare like plays into that whole thing helps us to see that a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Is it necessary?
Yeah.
No, there's other ways to accomplish that. But I think the way that it all plays together makes it kind of forgivable.
See, I understand that. And that's like what I was like, that's what I understand about that as well, is that is what it serves the purpose of.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that, like, it makes sense to me what you said, and I understand that, but still, because it is something that like something else could have been used in that way, and
Absolutely.
It's an experience that's like, and again, if it, on its own, honestly, maybe I wouldn't have had as much of a problem with it. But and this again is totally out of pocket. This man does not necessarily deserve this. It's my own intrinsic like reading into a situation based on my knowledge of it. But if you've made three movies and two of them use this kind of thing as a subplot, I start to read more into it, and it affected how much I enjoyed the movie. I don't think that the subplot was fully unnecessary. And I see how it builds into Rose's character and her, like, I had something specific that I was thinking the whole time you were saying all that stuff.
Oh, no.
And now it's gone. So if I remember it, I'll let you know. But it was going to be something about, like, how she has everything that Kat is sort of lacking here. There was something in my head where I like had something to say about that, but I don't remember what it is. So maybe I'll tweet about it. So follow me on Twitter, and maybe when I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Yeah, hopefully that comes back to you, because I do really want to hear that.
Yeah, but other than that, I just think it's one of those things that, like, for me is a little close to home. So when I think about it, I'm like, wow. Someone really just used something that I consider to be trauma and pushed it as a fun and quirky plot point for a character, which is something that you kind of get in horror movies a lot, is like something that could be trauma for someone. Like, for instance, parents dying. And then you just kind of throw it in and be like, and this is this character's one thing. It's like, oh, okay.
But enough about every single anime protagonist.
But yeah, I and can I talk about something that I liked now?
Go for it.
Kind of segue
you can talk about
this.
whatever you want.
Okay.
As long as it's related to the movie.
Something that I really enjoyed about this movie was, you said loneliness, but one thing that I read that Perkins said about this movie was that it is a Trojan horse. The horror genre is a Trojan horse for a story about grief.
Mhm.
And I really like how you can read this as a story about someone who completely allegorically to the whole like possession thing is bad coping mechanisms that she uses to maybe not necessarily literally kill everyone in her life, but to push them away and emotionally damage them until they're forced to take drastic measures to get her help. But nothing helps ever as much as those initial coping mechanisms do. So she tries again, and they don't work even as well as they did the first time.
Yeah.
And you're just suddenly left with that feeling of emptiness of, I have no way of fixing this, and I have pushed away everyone who even cared even a little bit. And I really, really enjoyed that overarching theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he did say, I think you probably read the same interview that I read, because he said that more or less the entire movie is just about getting to that final shot where she's standing in the road and she's got nowhere to go. He said basically it doesn't matter to him how you get there, but that's what the entire thing is about. It was just about getting to that moment.
Yeah, and you can feel it because it was super impactful to like you because of the way that we got there. It's easy to feel what she's feeling and realize like how she has to be thinking of herself in that moment as someone who is literally just like nothing is better about her situation. No matter how hard she tried, nothing could be worse either than where she's at.
Yeah.
She's just completely devoid of anything good or bad at that point.
Yeah, definitely. But also, it's about the Goblin Demon.
He has big, fluffy ears. What's up with that?
And her friendship with him. And the fact that she killed for him and then he just left. Just because of some priest.
Can't really argue. That priest was angry. I wouldn't mess with an angry priest.
Yeah.
He was peeved.
Also, I know those are horns, but they looked like big bunny ears, and I couldn't stop thinking.
They
kind of reminded me of Donnie Darko.
Exactly. Someone lent them the costume from Donnie Darko, and they put it in a coat.
And they were like, let's not focus the camera on this at any point.
I'm glad that they didn't.
Yeah, I really like that that's how they chose to do it.
Yeah, if they had like actually shown what it looked like in detail, I would have just been disappointed, and I would have been like, "Oh, I wish they kept it as just like a creepy shadow thing."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
strong.
I am almost always disappointed by creature design when we get a full look at them. I think the only creature design that I've seen in horror that actually stood up to how I imagine them. You guys are gonna maybe laugh at me, but it was Krampus.
Like no, I liked Krampus.
It was so well done. The attention to detail.
The whole Krampus crew, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They all just looked so good. They were crumping.
I liked that post-crump reveal.
Anyway.
So, speaking of the angry priest, though.
Yeah.
It took me a solid bit to actually get into this movie because of Albany.
Yeah, right. And I wrote that in my notes. Albany.
Yeah, he mentioned Albany, and I'm like, Albany! He's riding a train to Albany.
I'm walking here.
And then I was just like, I literally can't take this seriously because of Albany. I hope it doesn't come up again. And I shit you not. I wrote about Albany at least 6 more times in these notes.
Wow. Why? So, for the audience who may not understand the reference, like, why don't you explain why Albany is so distracting? Like, because we all get it,
Jeff.
But like for the audience,
Jeff, you wanna field this one, Mr. Albany?
It's not actually funny.
That is the problem.
Nobody's going to actually laugh at this.
You just do a really bad New York Italian accent and say, I'm gabagoolin' here in Albany.
Or I'm walking here in Albany. Thing, I'm walking.
You're doing anything in Albany.
Yeah.
Half the Dietz family jokes, I think it should be said, rely heavily on doing a funny voice and saying the same thing over and over again. And it's hilarious every single time, but you can't get into it too much. Like, you can't try and explain it.
Albany is a popular thing for them to say. And that's why it's funny and distracting. It's just because Albany is one of your joke words.
More or less.
That's 100% it.
It comes from Jackson, actually. It wasn't even ours originally.
Jackson, friend of the podcast.
Jackson, friend of the podcast. Is he a friend of this podcast?
He probably has never listened to it.
He probably won't.
And he
either.
probably never will.
But he is.
And I can't really blame him
friend.
for that. This is not really his thing.
He actually told me, we recorded today, and he told me, yeah, ironically enough, I've never listened to a podcast in my life.
Oh. How about that? I think that's
amazing.
I think that's to his benefit, actually, in the way that he functions on that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, yeah. I had a realization about Rose that I really want to talk about.
Okay, go for it.
It's that her whole thing is that, like, speaking of loneliness and how she is like has everything that Kat wants to have but is still lonely. Yeah. I think a really good part of showing that seems kind of out of place when you first watch the movie, but when you think of the themes it makes sense, is her smiling for her school picture. She looks really happy and fulfilled in that photo, but her smile fades so quickly afterward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how that shows, like, Kat is hardly ever smiling at all through the movie. She just except for when she's like going through it, and then she'll have that like crazy looking smile on her face, but usually she's not.
Mm-hmm.
Rose, on the other hand, is putting on a happy face, even though they're feeling the same thing. One of them seems to be doing a lot more fine than the other one is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That whole first shot with Rose in it is actually really cool, because like just the way that like the music comes up and she walks in through the door and she sits down on the thing and gets the picture taken. Like, in the background of that shot, as she walks in, like just to the right of the door, up on the wall, there's a crucifix. Mm-hmm. And standing right below the crucifix, there's another girl leaning against the wall. And maybe this is absolutely nothing, but the way that she is standing, she is holding her head in a way that like nobody just leaning against a wall would do it. So I think it's intentional, but she's holding her head and her face in exactly the same way that Jesus always is on a crucifix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's like looking down at that angle, and she's got like, you know, her eyes closed and that like, you know, that like anguished expression. It looks like deliberate mimicry to me, and I thought that was a really neat touch.
Nice. I did not notice that, and I'm a little disappointed now.
Okay, this is also very random.
Okay.
But the priest in this movie reminds his like
Father Albany.
Father Albany. I think
Brian,
what is it?
Brian Albany.
Yeah, something about his face reminds me of mega church pastor Kenneth Copeland. Like,
don't be mean to him like that. He doesn't look anything like Kenneth Copeland.
I disagree.
Speaking
so
of goblins.
Strongly. Yeah, speaking of goblins, Kenneth Copeland.
How is he not dead?
He looks like something wearing human skin.
I'm fairly certain he's a lich, actually. I think he's been dead for like 20 years.
He was actually
looked different in 20 years.
His phylactery
he was
is
actually
one of his
Blackcoat, the demon in this movie.
I believe that. Fully believe that.
That's why they didn't fully show him, because they thought it would seem unrealistic.
It'd be too scary, you know. They'd show it, and people would just
no human could
unironically, if Kenneth Copeland played a demon, I would be terrified.
Yeah,
his movement.
It would be too believable.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be watching it and be like, is this actually Satan? Because how'd they get him?
That's what I think every time I see a video of him anyway.
Well,
yeah, no.
Pretty much.
Absolutely.
That's him.
Except when he did us a favor and blew COVID away. That, you know, I was grateful for that.
For everyone listening to this, we are now in COVID-free America, thanks to Kenneth Copeland.
It's okay. You can go outside now. Don't go outside.
Don't go outside. I'm begging you.
Outside.
So, to get back to the movie, one thing that I enjoyed was not knowing that there was the time jump.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because my initial thing when Joan hit the screen, I was just like, oh my gosh, is this movie really going to make me keep track of two borderline identical blonde girls? This is awful.
That's how you know they
because-
got that casting, hair, and makeup right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The casting for aged up Cat, very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Also, I am incredibly face blind, so it's
You
good
see
to
a
know that it
dead-eyed
was
blonde
intentional.
girl and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh no.
I thought it was because like in the scene before, or like a couple scenes before, Rose had joked that like, oh, the sisters are devil worshippers or whatever, and there was another girl that came here like 3 years ago that like devil worshipped and then left.
See, yeah, that's
Mhm.
what I was
thought
thinking
that might have been
first.
her.
But I like the way that it went way more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
But then like halfway through the movie, you get the reveal that it's aged up Cat
So
Which
traveling
ahead.
with the girl she murdered's parents.
I don't know how I missed this, but I thought Bill and Linda were Bill and Jill, and I was
He did say
actively
Jill.
angry about that. I
for the
wrote it down. I'm like,
first
wow,
30
great
minutes.
writing, Bill and Jill. I don't know where that
I
came
don't know where
from.
he got
Wow.
Jill from, but it was
That's pretty
extremely
weird.
funny because we both did, because I thought that it was Jill because Noah said it was Jill. So until they said Linda, yeah.
But yeah,
Huh.
so I actually forgot when Joan picked that knife up in the diner. I'm like, oh, there's cops after her. I guess that is what happened. And I had totally forgotten she had grabbed that knife when she ends
Mhm.
up killing Bill and Linda.
oh,
Yeah, I was the same because I thought she was using it to defend herself because she thought the cop was going to come after her.
Mhm.
well, that's why
Which-
she grabbed it originally, but
It
Yeah.
did leave me with more questions about what she was up to, though, because I kind of got the idea that if she was taking her like bracelet off, then obviously she's like escaped. But
she killed a nurse on her way out. I don't know if you caught
That's
that.
A nurse
the real,
named
the
Joan.
real Joan Marsh was.
Yeah.
but yeah, there was a part of me that just thought that she had left, and for some reason they had not taken her bracelet because she was dressed in normal clothes.
Mhm.
So
So, something Emma said a minute ago brings up a question. Are the sisters actually devil worshippers?
No.
No,
You don't
think so?
absolutely
No.
not.
Okay. But consider this.
their hair's real, so that
Consider
means Rose was lying.
this. Every time that we see Kat on the phone, she's talking to Satan.
Yes.
The phone
I don't
rings.
think it's actually Satan. I think it's just a demon, but that's nitpicky.
Oh,
But
okay.
Go on.
It's,
call him
it's never
Donnie.
explicitly stated either way.
Let's say Donnie, because it was literally just the rabbit from Donnie Darko.
Donnie,
a
you
great
are
big
out of your
Krampus coat.
element. That's what the priest should have been saying during the exorcism. He should have been like, you are
True.
out of your element,
Well,
Donnie.
You're in the wrong movie.
You are like a child who wanders into the middle of a movie and wants to know what's going on.
So to answer so what you're trying to say is that it's
Yeah.
Satan on the phone with the nuns as well.
I think so, because
Okay.
then, and I think that the original plan was to not kill Rose also, because of when Rose leaves to dump her boyfriend, and then she comes back, and Kat's like, "Well, why did you leave me?" And Rose is like, and then she's like, "Do you need anything?" And Kat says, "No, you had your chance."
Mm-hmm.
And then after the phone call, they tell Rose to go out and shovel the sidewalk. And they say down to the earth twice.
Mhm.
So obviously they want her to be out there for a while. They want her to be very thorough. And then they lock her out.
I wasn't sure if they locked her out or if Kat locked her out.
Yeah.
Kat was going to kill her anyway. Why would she lock her out?
Because then she'd see
The moment.
the sisters' bodies
and run.
and might be more defensive.
Yeah.
See, my thought is that they aren't, because they were doing the whole like prayer and everything without any issues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And
That's
my thing with the phones is I don't think that it's always the demon on the phone. I think that even when Kat hears it, I think that the initial phone call might even be someone calling to tell her that her parents are dead or something similar. and instead the demon kind of co-ops the phone and tells his own message, which he doesn't do with the sisters. Yeah, the sisters get the actual message that they should be getting.
Maybe.
Actually,
But also,
oh yeah, go ahead.
The demon did say, "Kill the C words."
Yeah,
multiple.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the sisters were in on it.
Yeah,
because I don't think the demon would be like, "Kill my worshippers too."
Either that or they were bad worshippers and he was sick of it.
I think
they
prayer
are
is the
nuns,
strongest one. The prayer is definitely the strongest argument against, because here's something that I kind of wish had played into it more, but I understand like why it didn't. Was Kat always be telling Rose that she smells good, and that never really means anything.
Yeah, I wish something had come of that.
I wish saying
said
it to be creepy.
I don't
But
know
also,
about that.
Smell good.
Did she say that before or after she said that she had her chance? Was it both?
I think it was both. Yeah, she said it twice.
I think she was trying to be nice in a creepy way to like give Rose a bit more of a chance, and then Rose was like, "Nah."
I gotta be honest, if Rose had been pregnant, the line would have made more sense. You know?
Well, during that the breakfast scene when Kat can't pray, she is staring very pointedly toward Rose's stomach. So if Satan demon is really involved there, it could be that she like actually was pregnant, but then Kat destroyed the pregnancy just to be evil. I don't know.
That's a stretch.
I think that's starting to read into
everything that we've started talking about, like when we talk about like whether or not the sisters are into it, are things that like I love the idea that this could have been more complicated and that there could have been more like moving parts to it. But
there's a cut of this movie with a third timeline somewhere.
Yeah, but given directorial intent, it's pretty clear, like based on what we've read, that it was supposed to be a pretty simple story about loneliness, and any added devil worshippers or anything like that probably would have taken away from that message.
I do think that it's intended to be read, though. I think this movie was very intentionally made to get read into, because there's a lot of reading to be done.
I mean, they don't explicitly say a lot.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get it from subtext. Let's talk about one thing that's a sure thing, though.
And what's that?
Speaking of prayer, Kat had a few moments. Probably the biggest one was when Rose went down to the basement and saw her praying in the boiler room.
So cool.
And just like her
unsettling.
fucking movements there.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
I don't know what they did with
shot.
like the camera or whatever. Like if they just like fast forwarded a little bit to like make it look creepy and unnatural, but it was really fucking creepy.
I think Shipka just does that. I don't know.
And the same
I don't
thing
want to believe
with,
that.
Later on, like when Emma Roberts is playing Kat and she realizes that like it's Rose's parents, she goes to the bathroom and she has this like really creepy like hand like and head twitch
when she laughs about it.
Yeah, that like kind of evokes that same movement style. It's just really unnerving.
I was thinking actually when Kieran Shipka Kat is stabbing the one sister over and over, I think the like particular way, the like intent that she moves her arm with, it seems almost like
robotic.
It's meant to mimic the bowing pattern a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it kind of seems for a while like every stab she's just like putting it in, taking it out, and like deciding if she needs to stab her again almost.
Yeah.
And the bowing almost kind of looked the same way to me.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Which
good scene.
I don't think that it's too much of a stretch to draw that kind of a parallel, because Osgood himself said that he likes to draw a lot of parallels. He likes to draw a lot of repeated, what's the word that prog bands use? Motifs.
Motifs.
Over the course of a work. He has this really cool, actually I can pull it up here. He had this really cool thing that he said where Somebody asked about how there's a lot of scenes that like the movie like leads up to and then cuts away from, and then it like pivots back to them later.
Oh yeah.
And he says, I'm one of those people who feel like movies are closer to music and closer to poetry than they are to TV shows, for instance. A lot of people have been saying that movies and television are the same, and they are not at all. Movies and episodic television couldn't be more different because a movie can be a poem. So I tend to utilize repetitions and refrains while reprising visuals or sounds or feelings or even scenes. It feels more like a song to me than it does a story. All of those instances in which the story doubles back on itself were in the script. We didn't make anything up in the editing room. We didn't improvise anything on set. Everything you see on screen was written, and this is really funny. I tend to write what everything looks like and smells like. So there isn't much guessing that needs to be done by the time it gets to the editing room.
Interesting.
I love that. That's very cool.
That last part's a little bit odd, granted.
I
However,
don't like the smells line.
No.
I
the
like
rest of it's
the
good.
idea that he's approaching it the way that you would approach a poem or a piece of music, though. Like that's such
That's
a
how
neat
you write
concept.
a story with meaning. You have to have some sort of connection. It can't just go bang, bang, bang to the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
Well, you
pick a
have
couple
to
of
think some
meaningful
things
things that
through.
you just keep coming back to.
Like, I was friends with this one guy in high school who we were both writers, and I'm a much more stream of consciousness writer, but I do have like an outline because I do believe that things need to have a structure to them. But he said that you need to think out everything. You need to know each character's birthdays, ages, favorite foods, all of that before you even put anything down on paper.
Yikes.
Wow.
And
That's what the third draft is for.
the fact that there are people out there who write like that and like write every single detail down scares me. Those kind of people scare me. They have an ability that is inhuman, and it impresses and scares me.
I can't wait to talk about this whenever we eventually watch Hush.
That guy?
Because that...
Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
Hush.
Speaking of Albert Einstein, because he's an old man, and so is the man who ran this school, can we appreciate how tone deaf he is in general? Like, without knowing that Kat's family had just died, without that knowledge at all, there is still there's still two people in his office who are incredibly uncomfortable, and their parents forgot them.
Yeah, either
Quotation
forgot
marks.
or were misinformed or what. Yeah.
And this man looks them dead in the eyes and is like, after all, you can't live here. And man, that was one of the more uncomfortable points of the movie that was not like a fear uncomfortable. This one was just
as
like
awkward as that situation would be in real life.
mhm.
Yeah.
And it just there was another point earlier on in that conversation where I'm just like, this man does not have a single clue what to do about these girls having a terrible home life.
Yeah.
Like, they both of them casually mention a couple things that are like, well, that's not that great. Because I don't know, I kind of got the vibe that Kat's parents were not exactly the greatest parents.
That's what you get, sort of.
And
That
I
would
know
be why
some of
she's
that
turned to
is
Satan.
because some of it might be just the misread from thinking that her parents actually have forgotten her, because there is, for me, there's an ambiguous point in the story where you don't know if Rose's parents are dead or if Kat's parents are dead.
Yeah.
When she just says they died.
Yeah.
And there's this moment where I thought, oh, is that Rose's parents? And then Kat's parents just left her here. I kind of thought that might have happened. You know?
Yeah, I had that moment as well. And
But-
I fully believed that Kat's parents were capable of just leaving her there. She seems like a quiet girl who just kind of takes anything that gets like handed out to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She seems like she's in a bad situation. Before we know
Well,
anything.
I think she may be in a bad situation in the school. But that's kind of hard to read into. But she obviously
seem to
like
have
cares
friends.
about her parents a lot and
Mhm.
has been looking forward to seeing them again because she has that heart written around them on the calendar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there's enough information to say for sure that she has a bad home life or anything. And
Neutral at best, I would say.
yeah, I don't know, but she's a creepy little girl.
Mm-hmm.
She does
And
seem to be a little bit weird.
yeah, I spent a lot of the first half of the movie when it's older Kat with Emma Roberts, unsure if those parents were going to be Rose's parents or if they were going to be Kat's
Me
parents.
too.
Me too.
We thought the flowers were like, oh, her parents were supposed to be there for the recital, and those flowers are for her.
Yeah.
And then the parents made a point of being like, yeah, we're in a little bit of a rush to get there, but not really. I'm like, yeah, Kat's parents suck. What the hell? And then it was Rose's parents.
You didn't think
Yeah.
Kat's own parents would recognize her?
Well,
I didn't think it was
didn't-
her, Jeff.
we didn't know that it was her at that point. We thought it was a third character.
That was Joan.
We thought
She
it
had
was
just
all
been
one
introduced.
Oh,
timeline.
before you figured out the time. Okay.
Yeah,
I got
about
you.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Speaking of the
Okay.
time skip, here's
Yeah.
something that Noah and I had a disagreement on that I want your guys' opinions.
Oh, I don't remember this.
Would or would not a Catholic school shut down all the way after 3 murders and a supposed demon possession?
It's
Because let me put my reasoning forward first. They would not talk about the demon possession. That would not leave the school
Certainly
grounds. And I gotta be honest, I don't think 3 murders would be enough to shut down a Catholic school.
based on only
It's-
the fact that it's Catholic is the biggest thing, right? Because based on
Exactly.
everything that everybody knows about the Catholic Church and what they are doing to children constantly, I
Mhm.
feel like they would probably just do their best to cover it up.
I think that the demon possession would 100% get covered up, but even a regular college wouldn't get shut down over a murder. And I
Not
feel like
permanently.
if this was like a private like Christian school instead of a Catholic school,
Different story.
I would 100% be like, no, yeah, they got shut down. But because it's a Catholic school, you got, even if it's only a little bit, you got some of that Vatican money coming in.
Yeah, it's
I-
because Catholic schools are funded differently.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think it wouldn't fully shut down, but it would be like, it's not like those girls are coming back a week later.
No.
Um,
It might
I
shut
think
down
it
for a
would
whole
be,
year even.
like shut down for like maybe a year. And they do their Catholic like blessing the grounds sort of deal.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
all
yeah,
that,
re-sanctify the land. Make
Yeah.
it okay for anyone who's superstitious to come back.
Yeah.
My opinion.
And then they'd be like, grand opening, this time no demons.
What demons? None at all. Just like last
No,
time.
there were no, we're just re-clarifying that there are no demons here.
Emphasizing none.
Just
none.
for your peace of mind.
Nina, on the other hand, was 100% convinced it would shut down. Please present your case.
Okay, my case is these are not just 3 murders, these are 3 incredibly brutal murders where people's heads were chopped off and taken down to the basement.
True.
So there is that. I think that being said, the demon possession would be hard to keep under wraps because the parents, specifically in this situation, the parents are not, Linda is not quiet about the fact that her kid's head was taken off. She's
No.
like, yeah,
I wonder
did
why
they
she
tell
doesn't mention
you-
the possession.
I
Wonder why
I
Linda
don't-
doesn't
I
mention
don't.
that.
wonder if she didn't know.
I
That's the
would've-
other thing.
I really don't think they told anyone.
Yeah.
Like, because let's
Yeah.
be real. Kat was locked up, tied to a bench, and exercised right away.
And they
True.
sent her to a mental hospital afterward. But here's the thing. Do you think that Linda is the type of person who would lead a campaign to shut down the school?
That I do believe.
Yeah.
Linda is not.
That was what I was
Linda
just
is-
starting to think, is that there might have been like a lawsuit or something.
I am now
Yeah.
on the other side. Linda specifically tips this for me.
I think
I don't-
there might have been a lawsuit where she's like, why were these 2 left alone the whole
Yeah, how did this
weekend?
happen?
Why didn't anyone look into her history? Her
Yeah.
parents died and
They-
no one took care of her.
Mhm.
All sorts of things.
They weren't really left alone though, because the sisters were there.
They weren't, but It was definitely that there was definitely no plan for what if something happens.
Yeah.
Well, and the sisters were not told to take care of Kat. Rose was.
No, yeah, that's the weird thing. The sisters were not told to take care of him at all. It was just like, Rose, you'll look out for her, right? And she's like, no.
Yeah, and then Mr. Gordon just leaves, which is obviously wrong of him to do in that situation.
On that note, why did he come back?
He came back with the cops, because they were showing up then to tell Kat that her parents were dead.
That her parents were dead.
Okay.
That's the reason the cop was there in the first place as well.
That's why the door was locked. The door was locked because they wanted Rose out of there because they had just gotten awful news to tell Kat. And they wanted to make sure that they did not get interrupted. So Rose went outside to shovel for a very long time.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I buy that.
Yeah.
Connected.
Glad we figured that out.
The time jumps in this movie make it very hard to remember why people are doing what they're doing.
Let's talk about Bill and Linda real quick. I absolutely love how clear it is that they are both just completely unraveling, just in different ways.
I don't even think they're living together right now. I think that this is a thing that they do every year because they do not seem very happy with each other.
Certainly not.
No.
Certainly
I mean,
not.
after like a child's death, a lot of marriages fall apart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just go well very difficult.
I had not considered
at the same time
they would be not living together, but that adds up perfectly.
Yeah, I'm glad that, because Bill, when you first see him, comes off as like a very nice person, but you're not sure if it's like overly nice because he's creepy about to do stuff
so much
to
of
like a young girl.
Yeah.
Like nice, or
definitely
if
seemed like he was making a move
nice.
every now and then.
And I'm glad that it was more like he's actually being nice and trying to be helpful.
Yeah. But then the more you learn about him, it's like, oh, he is ultimately doing this because he is not okay.
Yeah, he's definitely not okay. But also maybe he just was struggling because he knew, like, this is obviously a difficult time for him and Linda, and maybe having somebody else there will make it not as difficult between the two of them.
Which ironically is what is making Linda more angry.
Yeah.
Linda clearly does not appreciate him for the last several years, it would seem.
Apparently.
Picking up some random girl who's just like, oh, doesn't she just remind you of Rose? No, Bill, she doesn't remind me of Rose. Hey, do you know what you remind him of? Our beheaded daughter.
So one thing I want to say is the music in this movie when Bill and Kat are talking is very creepy, and on a first watch would give you the vibe that Bill is something to be aware of.
Yeah.
But on a rewatch,
she just seems kind of innocent and stuck.
But on a rewatch, what you realize is that she is the one who the music swell is for. She's the one who the emotions are slowly building over the conversation, and she's slowly realizing what's happening, and he's the one in danger. And I really like that can be on a rewatch. You can kind of pay attention to that.
This movie has so much rewatch value. It is unbelievable.
That's one of the things that I realized as I was watching this. I was like, I bet this is the kind of movie that would be like really good on a rewatch.
Absolutely it is, yes.
But I am curious to hear what you guys' thoughts on the soundtrack were, because it was done by the director's brother.
Elvis Perkins,
Yeah, and it was his first time writing a film score, and it was apparently very stressful for him.
He says he had a very rough time with it. Yeah, his exact phrasing is that it almost killed him. He found it extremely confining. But then, here's the thing. He came back a year later to write the score to I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, so clearly it wasn't that bad. I think he also did the score for Gretel and Hansel as well, so clearly he figured it out.
So he doesn't seem to mind working with his brother, so that must not have been the issue.
Right. Apparently they just really clicked creatively, because according to Oz Perkins, there was just about no communication between the two of them about putting this movie's score together. Like, I guess he was working on the movie, and then every now and then his brother would just send him a song and be like, hey, this is good, right? And he'd be like, well, yeah, that's perfect. More like that. And that's how the whole thing got put together.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack of this movie. I do think it comes across a little bit overbearing in some parts, I think. Like it does have a little bit of the criticism that I've given to other movies where it's like, telling you that you're supposed to be scared right now, but I am a hypocrite and I like the way that it does it in this case. So
I have this one note that says the big woo on the soundtrack is very good. I'm trying to remember what sound it was because it was not a woo, but it was some sort of high.
It's probably like a
kind of like a theremin, kind of like.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like a.
It's very much yeah.
But yeah, that hit right before we hear that the sisters were devil worshippers, allegedly. Which I 100% thought that she was about to be like, the sisters are gay, right?
Yeah.
When they said a wig, I was like, what? They're wigs, right? I was like, wait a minute, you can't be like.
Are we in England?
My immediately, this is going to be so embarrassing. My immediate thought jump was when a lesbian and a gay man are living together, it's called a beard.
Right.
And in my head, I was like, if they're two women living together, they can't be a, in parentheses, beard, because I got beard and wig mixed up, because they're clearly, then that would make them clearly gay anyway. Are they two straight women living like they look like a gay relationship? Is that what a wig is? I was so deep down that rabbit hole before I realized she was just talking about their hair being gone.
And I mean, credit where credit's due. I did look at their eyebrows and hair when we next saw them.
Oh yeah, after that scene, the next time they were in a scene, I was looking real close at their eyebrows. I was like, those are real. Rose is bullshit.
Rose is full of crap.
That was actually one of my favorite scenes at the end of the movie where we were getting our recap of every time the demon did stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know what? Now suddenly the really weird off-the-wall story that Rose told to just kind of scare Kat was the original vibe. Now that really weird off-the-wall story makes more sense because it's like, hey, demon worshiping's kind of cool. Even the sisters do it.
Everybody's doing it. Hey, kid, you want to worship Satan?
Did you know that demon worshiping is an option? I am informing you. Here's a pamphlet on how to get started.
What I love about that scene especially is that, like, it's so obviously just the kind of story that a kid tells a younger kid to try and freak them out, right? Yeah. And the way that when she says it, Kat is just like, really? Are you serious? And she's like entirely bought into it. In a way that you would expect a kid of her age maybe might have some questions at least. But no, she doesn't question it at all because she's worshiping Satan. So she's like, it's not just me. I've got competition. I gotta kill them.
And then the sisters made it pretty clear to her later that they were, in fact, not. And she's like, bunch of poosers.
Well, that's pretty lame. I hate Catholics.
Now it's time to kill them.
Any of you guys notice the trinity of dads in this movie?
No.
I guess not. Okay, so
as in like Rose's dad, Gregory or whatever his name is, and Father Albany.
Who's Gregory?
I don't know, the headmaster.
No.
Oh.
No.
Are you talking about Satan, Father Albany, and Bill?
Exactly.
Thank you. Okay, good.
A priest who is the proxy for God, the heavenly father, Bill, the earthly father, who dresses pretty frequently like a priest. He's always wearing a black coat with like a white t-shirt underneath, so you got that little
I thought that he was Father Albany when he first appeared.
Because that's like as a reflection of the fact that man is made in the image of God. And then we have the infernal father, Satan.
Okay.
Who's also in black.
Yeah.
I think that's
in a big comfy
all the
coat.
dads wear black.
A black coat.
That's a good point because the idea that when Kat really clearly needs the Father Albany, who she has a huge connection with, to stay behind with her when she feels like she needs him most, he leaves.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of religious people have been in a moment where they needed like that comfort and it's gone, and so they turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Like Satan.
Yeah.
Like Satan.
And killing their roommate.
We've all been there.
And that
We've all been there. We've all killed roommates.
And that even a well-meaning like human dad can't scratch the need that like that the initial like love of the quote unquote heavenly father could have served if he had just stuck around when
Yeah.
they needed him.
And what I especially like is the contrast between Father Albany. I can't believe we're all calling him Father Albany, by the way. The contrast between the way that Father Albany talks to her and the way that Satan talks to her.
Mm.
Because when she talks to Satan on the phone, he's like, you can stay here, you can stay with me. And he's like super welcoming and accepting. And the next time that we see Father Albany after that, he's looking her in the eye and saying, you are not welcome here and you have to leave. And I know he's talking to Satan at that time, but he's looking at her and he's saying it to her. I just thought that was really neat.
It was really good. I loved that part.
Another neat thing.
Mhm.
After killing the sisters and after killing Rose, there is always a shot of Kat standing in front of a light, and she's shown like almost as like a silhouette in imitation of the way that we see Satan in this movie. But we don't get that shot when she kills Bill and Linda.
Ooh.
By contrast, there she's under a streetlight that's kind of shining on her face, and it's all dark around her.
Mm-hmm. Where it's very clearly her.
Yeah, like to visually cue us into the fact that it's not going to work. Satan was not present in that murder. I thought that was cool. I didn't catch that the first time watching it. I caught it this time.
That is cool.
So did either of you make the first time you watched it? So Jeff, a throwback for you,
right?
But did you try and pick up on any foreshadowing prediction action about how Rose was clearly going to die? Because Nina and I had this theory at dead center of the movie when we realized that we were in a time jump and Bill had Rose's yearbook photo,
right?
That he was constantly worried about her, about aged up Kat being cold.
Yeah.
And how he wanted to make sure she didn't be too cold. He was like, here, take this coat.
He talks
My
about
wife won't mind.
And then Linda talks about how the kid that she finally saw a little bit of Rose in was cold, and you could tell that she was cold because her hands and her knees were red with cold. We both thought at that moment that Rose was going to freeze to death.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been such good foreshadowing. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been
I wasn't
incredible.
sure how it was going to happen, but yeah.
That's neat. No, I did not pick up on that.
Now, in hindsight, what I think is that it's February in the present, and it's February when they pick Kat up for the anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's just that the missing of Rose and the looking for her and other people comes up when it's cold out around February.
Right.
So that's when Linda finally caught a glimpse of her daughter, was in another time where it was cold, and that's when her daughter died.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was just in February. So that's another still consistent and kind of neat thing, but not as cool as that.
That might harken back more to back when the movie was called February, where it's that might have made a little bit more of a connection rather than where we're just they seem a little obsessed with this cold thing. But no, I liked that. I thought that was a neat little think about it.
Through line. Yep.
Now that I'm thinking about that actually pulls up another neat little parallel between Bill and Satan. Things that I didn't expect to say today. Kat worships Satan in a boiler room, right in front of the furnace. It's hot in there.
Yep.
And Bill is always concerned about keeping her warm. So the movie kind of equates warmth with caring,
Literal, yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat.
I do like that.
That's neat.
That's cool.
I don't know how that
That's a
connects
nice
to
touch.
Father Albany to finish my my Trinity theory, but
Well, Albany's cold as hell.
Albany is cold as hell.
Cold
which is
as
quite
ice.
warm. We have learned from the demon in the furnace.
Well, maybe that's why he likes being in the furnace, because it's cold in hell and he just wants to be warm.
Could be.
Man, I obviously I didn't want her to go back to devil worshipping at the end of the movie, but I was so sad for her when she showed up and that furnace was just dead and cold.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
I love the way that they play that because, like, did you catch that from the moment that she realizes who Bill is, every chance that she gets, she's like trying to clean herself up and trying to look better. Because, like, when she runs to the bathroom and laughs about it, once she's done laughing, she's looking at herself in the mirror and she's like, you know, messing with her hair and stuff. After she kills Bill and Linda, she's got their blood all over herself, and she like spends a really long time just trying to clean it all off of her face after
She
putting their
even
heads
puts
into
like
that suitcase.
blush on or something.
I did really like how she used like the blender to help the blood just hide in the blush.
Yeah, but
yeah, she
and
was
then
she was
gets
dressing
to
up
the boiler
for
room, and like by,
demon.
you know, as a contrast, the whole thing is just all broken down and all dumpy. It's not dark and lit by firelight anymore. There's like an open window letting the sun in.
Yeah,
She's just trying to get her friend back.
I
And
was
that's
so
the
sad
thing. We've
too
just
when they
watched
kicked him
her
out.
Kill like 6 people, and
You still
all
just
to
end the movie
try and
feeling
get
really bad
Satan
for
to
her.
inhabit her body, and then it doesn't work, and we're like, "Aw."
I think it's because it's even if you need a moment to like really understand how it is an allegory, it's pretty clearly an allegory for grief and loneliness. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
feel like what she's trying to suppress.
Yeah. Oh, and just all the hopelessness of
Mhm.
the whole scene. It's just like, well, she's really got nothing to do from here now. Like, that's it.
On that happy note, is everyone ready to read Noah's notes for this episode?
Oh, geez, I had actually forgotten about that.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, could you play the theme song for us?
So, I was thinking, what if we go a little bit of a different angle this time?
Okay.
What if we go maybe a little bit more avant-garde? And some people are going to say this is too avant-garde. What if we go for
Not
a John
me.
Cage vibe, and the intro music goes like...
This is so fucking avant-garde.
Right?
I love it.
I think it might be a
love
little bit too much. Maybe
No,
maybe it
it's
needs to
perfect.
be a
No,
little
it's
more
the perfect
pedestrian.
amount.
People aren't
It
going to get
sets
it.
the
But
tone. It sets the
Perfect
tone perfectly,
avant-garde.
so I will roll right off that and get right into it. I think my first favorite one, it's not even at the top of the list, but it's just a subtitle that popped up while we were watching that just says urinating.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. That one stood out to me as well.
a classic. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of bathroom content in this
A
movie.
lot of bathroom content.
It just reminds me of that that one still that you see from Orange is the New Black, urinates forcefully.
yeah.
It's the same energy.
We have starting at the top. We got plenty of Albany jokes. That's not important. We've got, after all, you can't live here. Yikes, dude. Read the room. Very big mood. Who's this new blonde? Which is a mood. I
think that was when Joan first hit.
yes. Literally can't tell if there's supposed to be wind in this movie or not, which seems out of nowhere. Do you remember writing that? You make a face like you don't.
I have no memory of why I wrote that at all.
Okay.
Oh, no, because it was outside right as Rose and her boyfriend pulled up. And I couldn't tell if there was like, because it was like, I think there was like some like radiator noises going on, like where you could hear like the whispering, but kind of like wind. But then there was wind outside, and there was just like a whole lot going on.
You know,
Then
he
I'm
was
like, is
playing
there
music
wind in
in
this
his car
scene?
when he pulled up, right?
Well, that
That's
was the
what
other problem
sound
too,
was.
is there was music playing, and it was hard to tell.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
Okay.
We have, holy shit, is there actual devil worship?
She does say
that's
Hail
when the
Satan.
bowing was happening.
She does say Hail Satan. So
She does say that.
say Hail Satan.
that's my case for it being Satan, by the way.
Oh, I fully thought that Bill had killed Linda when he approached Joan in the hotel room, because I
Oh.
thought Bill was the bad guy.
Oh,
I was so
okay.
convinced Bill was the bad guy.
We have a lot of wrong guesses as to what's going on here.
Okay.
We've got some good ones. Let's see. And Hey, it's Father Albany. Okay, never mind. I don't think it is Father Albany.
That's when Bill first appeared.
We have...
He was walking there.
Oh, wait. No, I need to stop Nina here. The motel towels, because of their color, I thought they were loofahs. And there
Like
is
giant
nothing
loofahs.
that terrifies me more than the thought of a motel loofah.
No, that's fair.
That's a pretty disgusting prospect, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have... I feel like Bill is being set up as Kat's dad, but he just won't be. Correct. He wasn't.
But he also
But
wasn't
he
being
was
set up
doing
that
his
way.
best.
We have so Joan stole an identity, got it, and now she's thinking of stealing roses. Also incorrect.
I assumed when she saw the photo that I don't know why I was thinking this, but since we saw that she'd stolen an identity, I'm like, oh, she'd be about your age now. She was just looking for an identity to steal and keep going. That was me dipping out of horror movie mode, I guess, for a minute and being like, aha, crime thriller mystery. She's stealing identities.
That's,
We have
pretty wrong. Yeah.
another one that's wrong, but it would have been nice. Halfway prediction: Rose froze to death in the school because her parents couldn't make it there. She froze to death because Kat sabotaged the furnace in her weird ritual or whatever's happening.
Oh,
So.
That was
It could've been
that was
cool.
the theory.
could have been cool.
Entirely incorrect.
Oh, completely, yeah. But there could have been like some extra parallels to The Shining, which the movie
Mhm.
does already have a few of. So that could have been neat.
Yeah. The sisters, open your eyes, sheeple.
Well, I mean, they're both dressed exactly the way that Shelley Duvall is always dressed in The Shining
Frumpy and warm.
as well. So, it's like the exact kind of like goofy suspender thing.
there's not anything else that really is a guess, but there is the moment that it comes all together, written in all caps, where he says, "She is aged up, Kat, because that's the cop that shot her."
I made the connection.
That's
Uh,
how late you made the connection.
Wow.
When the cop first appeared, yes.
Oh,
I made it when she saw the picture of Rose.
I still
That was
wasn't
when
sure
I made
we
the
were working
connection the
multiple
first time as well.
timelines at that moment.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, no. I knew that we were working multiple timelines at that moment, but I wasn't sure how things were playing out still.
Gotcha.
I just knew that she was not Rose.
Yeah,
Well, that's good.
We have a couple other ones that I want to bring up really quick. We have how far along is Rose? I'm actually kind of curious. Well, I'm happy to answer that for you, Noah. She was 4 days late on her period. So that's how
yeah.
far.
And she
says
was
that.
so convinced she could already see a little bump.
I'm okay. I'm not going to make fun of her having been through it. That is how it be. It do be
Yeah.
like that. Oh my God.
It
It
do
do
be like that, yeah.
And it is not a fun time. 0 out of 10 would not recommend to anybody. Have
Nope.
safe sex, people. Wear condoms, please. Thanks. Okay.
Don't have sex at all. It's a
Don't
sin.
have sex. It is a
Yeah,
sin.
you fucking sinners.
You're right. I'm so
Gross.
sorry. We have some other good ones though. Knife drawer, more like Chekhov's knife drawer.
It's the only reference that I know, and I will use it
Tell you
liberally.
what, when Rose opens up that drawer, she has to like wade through a sea of knives to get the spoon
There's
that
no-
she
it's-
ends up
it's-
pulling
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, there's
Why is
so
there a
many
spoon
knives.
in the knife drawer?
Right?
Yeah.
Why isn't it in the spoon drawer?
Let's see. Oh, it was the light switch to the hallway also made you jump, apparently.
No, that is what made me jump. I thought it
there was a door opening thing in here where you did make a note about door opening is very good. So maybe you jumped twice.
I don't think I jumped at the door. It must have been
Oh,
the
here it
light.
is. That door closing is very good. Noah Dietz.
It was very good.
Yeah, I think that's most of it.
Okay.
We got a lot of yelling about the demon's design, which progresses from bunny ear ass looking bitch to
No, it was just bunny ear demon. Oh,
bunny ear looking ass bitch.
Oh,
I
I
am
guess I did-
reading directly off of the paper.
Wow.
I didn't see that.
Then we have with spaces between each letter, bunny ear demon. And then a little further down, we have Donnie Darko has Demon.
Okay,
So-
hold on now. I've got some problems with you talking about him like he's a rabbit and making the Donnie Darko comparison like this, when he literally looks like the silhouette of like one of those guys from a Behemoth video. And I know you love
we do.
Behemoth, sir.
You guys and your metal references. Noah's about to look this up for me. Is this going to be like when you made me watch Flurvin-Gerben or whatever
Listeners,
it
do
was?
yourselves a favor. Watch the video for Behemoth's song. What song is it, Noah? Is it Blow Your
He's working
Trumpets?
on it.
Honest, Blow Your Trumpets would probably give you a good example.
Any Behemoth video
Yeah.
will get you this dude.
Oh, yeah. He kind of do be looking like that.
Exactly.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, the Satan in this movie is just the silhouette of one of those guys.
Okay.
More like a snail than anything.
Thank you for not actually making me watch any of this because I can already tell you I
We're recording right now, and I've already
Yeah.
know that you wouldn't like the song.
I don't remember what it was that he actually made me listen
Glummer
to.
Funnel.
Yeah, poor
Oh,
Like,
I'm
oh,
so
you'll hate
close.
this.
Glurvin Furbin was actually very close.
Blurbin, Furbin.
I couldn't let you miss out on the curator.
He's got
I
a
mean,
clock on his head.
Because
A
of
clock.
that, this is completely
Listeners, do
unrelated. I'll talk about
yourselves
that
a
later.
favor. Go watch the video for Glummer Funnel by Portal and look at the clock man.
Don't listen. Don't turn on the volume though, because it will.
No,
put-
you do need to turn on the
it
volume.
will-
It's an
You wanna hear
experience
it.
and a
It's an
half.
It will
experience.
overload and forcefully shut down your brain, like when you have too many programs on your computer.
Or like when
Disk
you turn on
capacity,
an
100%.
old-timey TV to like no channel.
That's about what
Yeah.
it sounds like. Anyway, back to the movie. Let's wrap this one up.
Yeah, I think we're just about done here. Final thoughts, anybody?
Really liked it.
Really liked
glad that it, not that it would have been a series, but I'm glad when standalone movies like this have a resolved ending, because that's an issue I have with Apostle, right? That ending where it's just like, and now he's the guardian of the island, unfortunately does feel like sequel
bait.
material.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just
And I don't like
ambiguous
that.
enough.
Whereas this one ended with, and she's miserable. Roll credits.
A good happy ending to
And-
a horror movie.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
that was a good ending to this movie, and it did not leave me wanting more in the slightest. It left me exactly satisfied with the movie. Didn't give me too much, didn't give me too little.
It puts you where you
Big
ought
agree.
to be at the end of a movie.
Yeah. And realizing that makes me think, how long has it been since I've actually watched a movie where I've left and been like, yeah, that's a fully satisfying movie? Probably Fantasy Island.
Seriously,
What, like Killer
No.
Clowns just didn't even happen?
I've been watching so many freaking franchise movies and movies by Blumhouse that feel like they want to be like even The Invisible Man, which did have a very satisfying ending for me. It's like, oh,
It is sequel baity, though.
It does, because it's The Invisible Man. It's a universal monster bait, even though it is the most successful and most standalone of their attempts at starting a universal monster world. Still.
I still think that's going to happen, and that they're just not going to technically be connected. It'll be one of
Like an
those, like, they're in the
anthology.
same universe, but they're not actually going to appear in each other's movies.
I genuinely
He's going to be
wouldn't enjoy if we
in
did that.
Kong versus Godzilla.
Yes. It's him, the giant invisible man. And
Camera
everyone will be
pans
like,
over to nothing.
where?
And it's what? That was good. Okay. But yeah, no, I agree. This movie had a very it, despite being out of order in its chronological sense, it really feels very wrapped up and satisfying by the end. Not a single question is left unanswered for the most part.
Yeah.
You get the purpose of each character and what their motivations are and what happened to them. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, it
8
comes
out of
together
10.
really well. I forgot to mention, I just think Linda's monologue where she's talking to Kat in the car is just really, really good. I like
It's
that
very
a lot.
raw and uncomfortable to experience.
Yeah. Again, it's another one of those moments that feels an awful lot like what you would think it would feel like in real life, and that is just awesome.
Yeah.
Even more uncomfortable by the fact that in hindsight that Kat doesn't want to be thought of anything like Rose. So
Yeah.
Linda's lecturing her on something she already does not want to be associated with.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Very
just the
good.
fact that Linda doesn't realize yet that she's talking to her daughter's murderer, who is later also going to kill her as well. Like that's just
Every
an extra
time that
layer of chill.
Man, just thinking back to all the times that he talked about his dead daughter to her, it was so bad because I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, that's another thing where the rewatch value comes in, because then just from the beginning you're like, oh dude, you don't even know. Just incredible. This movie is obviously the way that it is, not just because of Oz Perkins and his however meticulous his writing is, but also just because everybody in on the project clearly was just all in on like on the vision for what the movie was supposed to be. Everybody was like fully bought in on it. And I think Kiernan Shipka's like physical acting and her like facial expressions and stuff is just really good, which is crazy because she's like 15 or 16 in this movie. Yeah, just really good. A lot of great performances. Yeah, I love this movie.
All right. So I think that's everything.
Yeah.
We're going to do our sign out. Do I say my pick before or after the sign outs?
After the sign out.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
That's the one thing that we do
have a
consistently, except for that one time when Nina picked Crimson Peak and she mentioned that like
in the beginning of the movie
into the episode.
I was so excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about Crimson Peak next week.
And
Nina, we're still talking about movie.
Yeah, whatever movie we were talking about at the time.
As always, thanks for joining, everybody. I'm Emma. You can find me on Twitter at MJ2017, or I run the podcast Twitter at Casual Horror Pod. My head hurts a lot.
Yikes.
Super fair.
Yeah. Mood. I hope that you feel better. My name is Nina. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Nina Wolverina. If you listened to last week's episode, you know why it's called that. And if you need to get more of my horror, jeez. If you want more of my horror opinions, you can find me at House Usher Rises. I talk about my opinions on horror media there, and sometimes I retweet some really cool horror art, so follow me there.
Noah, you can find me as Bubba the Bad, BUBBADABAD, Twitch, Twitter, and Insta.
Twitter?
Huh?
Twitter?
I said Twitter. Fine, don't find me there then. Jeez.
Don't find him. And I'm Jeff. You can find me on Twitter at BubbaWubbadab, BUBBADUBBADABBADABBAD. You can find me on Instagram at The Hammer of Jeff. And by the time this comes out, maybe I will have made a TikTok. Who even knows?
Oh my God.
Is your sister getting to you?
I guess. So
I mean, I
I'll
also was yelling at him.
Did the Ringo just TikTok change your mind?
And all
you know how I am about Ringo.
Anyway, thanks you guys so much for listening. Next week, Noah picked the movie.
I'm really excited. So I had a few thoughts here, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I was going to try and combat Jeff's pick for best movie of the 2010s, which I gotta be honest, even my next pick is not, even if I was gonna go in that direction, I don't think it actually sits higher than other movies that I think of as best of the 2010s. So that's the angle I decided to not go with. I decided instead to go in the angle of
2010s.
Yes. So we're going to watch Harbinger. No. But that one's actually a very sad movie. The sense of it's the guys who worked on the Thing remake, and they were mad that they didn't get to use their practical effects that they had worked up for the Thing remake. So a prequel, I guess, technically. So they made Harbinger, which is a movie with only practical effects, and unfortunately, it suffers heavily for it.
Wait, so is it like discount the Thing?
Yeah. But we're not watching that.
Yikes.
But that would be in my... No, it's not the worst. But it would be down there.
It's not.
However,
good.
We're going to watch a movie that actually scared me a lot when I watched it.
The scariest movie you've ever seen, would you say?
Legitimately?
Oh.
No memes. This might be the scariest movie I've ever seen.
He says this might actually be the scariest movie
I'm terrified.
he's ever seen.
Now here's the thing, right? Like,
if you say Hellraiser, I am just gonna shit my pants in fear.
No, we don't talk about that,
the
Jeff.
Scariest movie I've ever seen.
Wouldn't that be the absolute best lead up though? Like, no joke, scariest movie I ever seen, Hellraiser.
Probably Black Sabbath.
I've tossed a lot of names around that we're not looking at. This week, we are going to watch Hell House LLC. It is a found footage movie, and big caveat here, I don't usually like found footage movies. I think found footage movies suck ass a lot, but this one's really good, and I'm very, very much looking forward to making you all watch it. I've never seen the sequel or the threequel, but the first one's very good.
2 sequels.
I'm legitimately very scared.
I am pretty concerned.
Because none of the movies we've watched honestly have actually scared me.
Right.
This will probably be the one.
It'll probably scare me
This
as
one,
well.
I had to pause halfway through because the tension was high enough that I'm like, I need to take a second, pause the movie, did some stuff, came back and finished the movie.
Wow.
I have only ever had to pause and walk away from 2 movies, I think.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
The Hedgehog and
Hellraiser.
And Hellraiser, of course. No, it was I don't remember what the one was, but I know it definitely happened. The one that I do remember is any of you ever watch Mother? It's Darren
I've heard of
Aronofsky.
it, but I've never watched it.
I know the entire plot and the symbolism, and I have no desire to watch it ever.
That's fair, because the symbolism and trying to decode what's being said in it is really all the fun that there is in watching it, because it is an absolutely punishing watch. Oh man, it does not get better as you go along. It's hard. It's
that was
rough.
what I've heard.
A lot of good performances in it, but not a fun watch.
Anyway, I have more things that I'd like to say in that regard about what I do and do not want to ever watch or enjoy watching, but let's do that when we're no longer recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for watching our podcast. We'll see you next time.
Oh no, I should have done the John Cage ghost howl. Ah.